Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. Sit back, relax, and listen to tonight's show. Let's join our host, Ted Odorico, as he introduces tonight's special guest.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for this evening. We're going to be joined momentarily by my special guest this evening, but I just have a couple of announcements. I want to remind everybody from last week. Obviously, we're on a light schedule for another week or so. And then beginning March 7th, we'll be kicking into our full broadcast, our full 2-hour broadcast, in fact, beginning with the Coach's Corner segment. And that's going to take place on March the 7th. So you want to stick around for that, where we're bringing back our panelists again this season and a favorite part of the broadcast. And then a little bit later on, obviously, in the second half of the broadcast will be our special interview guest. So it'll be a 2-hour broadcast. Tonight's only going to be an hour. And next week will be the same, and then we'll kick into the full schedule on March the 7th. Also, the week following, March 14th, we'll be adding on the second Thursday, and the fourth Thursday of each month, I'm going to be introducing a new travel segment sponsored by golfbreaks.com. They're a trusted leader in golf travel, and as they say, why book with anyone else? They're going to be coming on. I'm going to be joined by my good friend, Robert Kaufman. He is the travel editor for Golf Tips Magazine and many other publications as well. He's going to be joining me, and we're going to have a group of other special guests throughout the season. They'll be joining us on the travel segment, talking about some favorite buddy trips and some other things as well about golf travel here in the United States and abroad. So we'll have a lot of great things to talk about, and so stay tuned for that. That begins on March the 14th, will be the kickoff for that, and again, sponsored by golfbreaks.com. All right, I'm very excited to have tonight's guest. She is joining me here, and she's the co-founder and CEO of ZIGIT. She is a 30-plus year business, has been centered around rewriting rules and taking risks, and her latest venture, ZIGIT, is no exception. ZIGIT is a patent-pending mobile app-enabled retail SaaS platform that allows for easy, convenient, and profitable self-serving of controlled products at ZIGIT-enabled dispensing stations across various venues, including golf courses, sports, and entertainment events. So please welcome my very special guest, the CEO and co-founder of ZIGIT, Elsbeth Hurry. Thank you. Elsbeth, thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and my apologies. We were just talking a moment off air, and obviously there was some issues dialing in, and I'm not sure if it's as a result of the problems earlier today with some of the cellular towers and that around the U.S., but it seems to have disturbed some of the phone lines and whatnot. But here we are, and I'm glad you were able to join me tonight. So I wanted to start off our discussion a little bit. I found, as I was preparing for this evening, I found some of the notes very interesting, and one of the things I wanted to get you to talk about before we get into your actual business is you have sort of a love, if you will, for disruptive businesses. Talk about that a little bit. I found that very intriguing.
Yeah, well, I've always been drawn to disruptive businesses and ideas that kind of push for positive change, or a positive change to the status quo. Sometimes the status quo is the right way to go, but anything that can improve on that. I also love emerging markets. It's just been something that has been a passion of mine for a long time. And I think this really, it's all around helping inspired ideas, people, and businesses succeed. I guess that's kind of my biggest driver or passion. So I believe finding innovative and collaborative ways to ensure everybody wins is more of a sustainable approach to business. And I think that's what really draws me into disruptive new tech, because, again, it tends to provide benefits for everybody that's involved.
Right. And yeah, I agree. I think it's always, in golf, we always try to find, something to sort of move the needle forward, to make it more accessible, as an example, or just to make it more fun. And so there's always, I just recently came back a few weeks back from the PGA Merchandising Show, which I believe you guys were there as well, or certainly you were.
Yeah.
And, a lot of great products, obviously, to help do just that. And so it's always interesting when you see technologies are coming out and how they're, trying to make changes in our industry as in other industries. And I also found something interesting. I want to get you to respond on this, because it's so true, the statement. But society's demand for sort of immediate gratification has kind of been in the forefront. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by that and how you're trying to fulfill, I guess, that need with what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think over time, especially in the U.S., but also in other countries, I've lived in Asia and other places, the need for immediate gratification is only grown. And what I mean by that is that people want things quickly and efficiently, whether it's your coffee in the morning or the convenience of online purchasing. Obviously, that's blown up, or even your favorite entertainment experiences. And I think that this demand has significantly influenced and changed consumer behavior across a lot of industries, and hospitality and retail in particular. So, for instance, I lived in Asia back in the early 2000s, and everything was delivered, everything.
Right.
And that wasn't a thing in the U.S., but now it's become commonplace, right? And I think that, again, is all about the ease and the need to have it when you want it. So I know my kids are addicted to Amazon, and if they can't get what they want the next day, they actually get disgruntled. They're so used to having it whenever they want it.
Right.
So as
right.
to ZIGIT, ZIGIT, I think, is, as you mentioned, it's a new app-enabled SaaS form, but really what it does is it makes it easy for golf courses to sell and golfers to buy, ice-cold, canned or bottled alcoholic beverages in less than 30 seconds. And as you think about golf, that is the on-course convenience of, getting refreshments when you want it without necessarily having to wait for a beverage cart or to be at the turn.
Right. Right.
So as
and
it relates to, it seems like it's time for a little bit more of this automation.
Yeah, and that's a great, really a great service for particularly for a golf course and even more importantly, resort to have available to their clients, because and again, not to break from tradition. I mean, obviously the famous cart girls that have worked for many years at golf courses have been a staple, but at the same time, you might not hit them at the right spot, and if you're looking for that sort of refreshment, or they're not driving by in the golf cart. Or maybe sometimes they've run out of certain things. It's nice to be able to have something available. And again, going back to the sort of immediate gratification, people, even my generation, I'm obviously not millennial or Gen Z, I'm a little above that. But, even I enjoy now being able to get things at a faster pace than what we once did. So you've obviously seen a growth for that automated sort of retail experience. When did you first come up with the idea? Obviously, automation has been around for a while, and obviously this type of system, but now it's available. Explain how the process works. It's not as it's simple once you understand it, but people maybe need to get a better view of actually how everything works.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with the first part of that, kind of how did the idea come about. And I worked in med tech for over 25 years, but my husband, who is also a co-founder in ZIGIT with me, he is, I would call him a perpetual ideator. So he, at any given time, holds at least 20 provisional patents. He sees the obvious sometimes, and he's good at solving unmet needs. He's also an avid lover of golf. And for him, he basically identified that there would be a much easier way to be able to create a self-service mechanism using facial biometrics and other verification methods that already exist if you look at Clear and others today. But how do you wrap that into a package that allows for, a compliant and secure delivery system in a wide variety of places? So the whole premise was being able to get what you want, when and where you want it. So, not to be basically conditioned to just be in a place where you can build some huge capital facility or anything like that. So he actually went through his provisional patents and the primary patent claims that we have that are unique to us is around the ability to use an app-based system to determine somebody's eligibility to buy or receive a controlled item. That marries up with hardware. It can be almost any type of hardware. We're not a hardware company, so we work with a wide variety. But basically, the app, when you first download the app, you have to scan in your ID. It also allows you to scan your face compared to the ID. After it's verified, it's an authentic ID. A face hash is basically put on your phone at that point, which is then used later whenever you want to buy something. So it's a one-time enrollment, takes about 90 seconds. And then after that, anytime you go to any ZIGIT-enabled hardware or a dispensing station, you scan the QR code. It pops up what's in the station. You select what you want. It processes a payment. It validates that you're eligible with a quick selfie, and it dispenses. So that process to buy something actually only takes about 30 seconds. And we actually started in American Airlines Center down in Dallas with the Stars and the Mavs, and we did that September of 2022. So we're in our second season there. But then last May, we went to the Wells Fargo Championship in Charlotte, and the response was excellent. It's such a great use case, both on golf courses and certainly at golf tournaments where there's really long lines just to get a beverage.
Right.
And that kind of had us thinking about, we love golf, and this is really a niche where golf, it hasn't been addressed, and this is an opportunity for golf. So now we're focused, about 80% of our resources are focused on golf.
Yeah, and I mentioned the PGA show, and we'll get to that in just a moment because you obviously had a debut there and talked about what it is you do, and I want to get your feedback on that. You kind of answered one of the questions I was going to ask you because I didn't mention everything in the beginning because I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about it, but obviously incorporated is the facial recognition, and that's important obviously because you want to make sure that the individuals that are partaking, especially in the alcoholic side of things, you want to make sure that they're of proper age. So obviously, once you've done the initial setup, you still have to have that recognition, though. So I couldn't just hand my phone off to somebody that wasn't of age and let them use it because they would have to be able to, in order to access it, you have to take the selfie so that it does the facial recognition, correct? Do I understand you correct?
Yeah, that's right. And we actually went with an app-based system intentionally. One, we wanted to be able to work with almost any variety of hardware, depending on the specific need for a course or for a stadium or other things. And as it relates to privacy, we take privacy very seriously. And what this does is it prevents your private information from going to a piece of hardware. So the scan happens through your phone, and basically you're hanging on to the majority of your biometric information, right? And that facial, I'm calling it a template, but that stores, and that is what's compared every time you buy a drink. So like you said, it is a requirement that everybody that wants to get a drink will have to use their own phone, their own face template, basically. You can't have two people use the same.
Now, can you have, and this is obviously an obvious question, but if you're making a purchase and let's say you're using your phone, you're the one that's doing it, are there limitations in there? Like, for instance, a runaround where you could, let's say, buy 3 or 4 and just distribute them. Is there a limit? How does the system know? For instance, you get somebody that goes to the golf course, they're spending there. and, they buy 7 refreshments in, an hour or 30 minutes. Is there any sort of safeguard in there? Because obviously there's issues, liability issues where somebody, and again, I know it's on a personal level, but at the same time, how did you did you find a way to work around that? And if so, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, basically our platform specializes in controls. So, and it's location-specific controls. So we don't actually sell any alcohol. The retailer that already has an alcohol license sells from their location.
Right.
So based off what they want to do at their course, they can set up any number of different controls. So you can do things from, 2 drinks per transaction to 2 drinks per hour to no more than 5 drinks in a day. You can do, if you're doing a tournament, you can assign, 2 drink credits to each person that signed up for the tournament instead of handing out tickets. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do depending on what's most important to you. There's ways for attendants or people there at the course to override as well and, block people buying if they want to. In the situation where, and obviously in golf this can happen, you've got, you're buying for other people. If that's the case, you can still be limited by how many you buy, but the way that the system will allow that to work is the phone can't be used by anybody else, but you could load somebody else's credit card onto your app temporarily, allow you to do so. That is a individual decision, right?
Right. Yeah, and the reason why I asked that is, just recently we had on the PGA Tour, of course, they have their annual waste management tournament, and I'm sure if you watch the news, they had some unruly visitors. I mean, it's always a little bit unruly, but this year particularly it got escalated. So that's why I was wondering if there are some. So it sounds like obviously there are a lot of safeguards, and obviously it's up to the individual venue what they want to sort of put forth. And I think that's great because, again, it's like anything. You're going to get people that are going to take advantage of certain things. So I like the fact that the facility or venue has the option of making sure that there's, sort of safe, what I would call safety features built in can do to avoid situations like that. So I like that a lot.
We live in Phoenix. My and I actually live here, and we've been in contact with the Waste Management and the Thunderbirds group, and we've also been in contact with other tour operators. And one of the things that we are currently adding into the platform is the ability not only for our boxes to control how many people can buy, but also to be a front-end KYC kind of portal to the other concession stands as well, meaning before they buy at another concession stand, they can track everything somebody drinks across any part of that tournament at any time and be able to do that. So that is something that I think will be quite valuable for tours and different sorts of settings, like you said, to make sure that they're responsible.
I mean, obviously and again, from a liability standpoint, obviously the venues have to take charge of that. That, as you pointed out, is really not, once you sort of hand it off, it's up to them what safeguards they want to put in place. But I just wanted to bring that up because obviously that is something that they have to look at. In this day and age, you have to be careful of everything that we do, and you want to make sure that certainly you want the fans and the patrons to have a good time, but at the same time, you want to have some kind of a safeguard. So I like that you guys obviously thought ahead and decided to incorporate that into making it a much more pleasurable experience. So I mentioned, obviously, golf was your primary market, and you guys debuted at the PGA show. Tell us a little bit about that experience. Did you actually have a physical presence at the show?
Yep, we had a booth. We were right across from the NGCOA in that section of the hall. It was my first PGA show experience, and it was fantastic. There were so many people there. And what I loved about it was just such a wide range of products and exhibitors and just a huge, fantastic show. So we had a great time there. We did bring a dispensing station. We didn't dispense alcohol at the show, unfortunately, for people coming by, but we did dispense canned water, right? So people could understand the experience of it. But, it was great. And the outcome of that for us has been really favorable as well, because we're in discussions with about 15 to 20 courses right now and trying to plan out kind of the best way to manage those launches over the next, 2 to 4 months.
And obviously your target market here is, golf course owners, operators, that sort of thing. You've obviously had conversations with them. What's been some of the response? I mean, obviously you've had some, product out there, if you will, or not, I shouldn't say product, but you've obviously had exposure to a few places already. What's been some of the feedback from them? And is there other things that they're looking for to expand what they're doing, not just bringing in more, of the sort of ends, if you will, but is there other things that they're asking if you can expand it besides just cold refreshment? Is there other services that they're looking to see? Is that something that you're considering down the road? So what's been some of the feedback, first off, from some of the owners, operators of the courses you're working with? And what other things are you guys considering about maybe adding to the service?
Yeah. Well, one thing I think for myself, we had a preconceived notion of what the target type of course would look like. And I think we were completely, I'm not going to say wrong, but I think we were, we weren't seeing the full picture. And so what was surprising out of the PGA show was the number of member-only private courses that are quite interested in this. You can customize a dispensing station with your crest, your logo. You can make it look however you want. So it can be done in a way that even for a private course, they like the way it can look and feel. And one of the things that popped up, besides obvious things like, enhancing member pay, right, because they have an honor system at a lot of these courses. They like the idea of less liability and better compliance without an honor system. This is like a controlled grab and go, if you want to think of it that way.
Right.
But the ability to continue to do member charges, they like the idea of setting up a virtual box at the turn. That technology is out there today where you can pre-order food from the turn, but you can do it through the app as well if you want to have it in all in one place, just like you could with a pre-order function. We've added that as well, where if you're in a golf cart and you want to pre-order while you're at 5 before you get to a dispensing station at 6, then you can go and just scan it and selfie, and you don't even have to decide what you want. It's already taken care of. So there's been a lot of those things. I think there's a lot of opportunities right now talking to the golf courses as it relates to tournament beverage management. And we've also added a feature that allows you to have non-alcoholic beverages without enrollment. So, if there's who isn't drinking and they don't want to have to fully enroll because they don't plan to buy alcohol, then you can just quickly buy it without any of the extra setup time, basically.
So let me just go back a little bit. Something that you said I wanted to follow up on. You talked about if somebody wanted to go on there, and I guess best way to describe it would be pre-order. So let's say they want it to have it for 6 o'clock, and they're going on their app and they're saying, okay, I'm going to be at this such and such, and I want to have it for 6, and it's now maybe 5 o'clock. Obviously, the system, the app, in other words, when I say system, the app obviously is going to communicate with it and say, okay, I want 3 of this. And so if it's out of that particular thing, it then notifies and say, we don't have that available, or do they see that automatically on a drop-down list or what have you in the app already? Does it tell them what's currently available in that machine ahead of time, or do they have to make an order and then it comes? Okay, so they see it up front then.
Yeah, so basically with the pre-order, it's actually a pre-buy function that we've added because that's what the courses wanted. You can scan a box and it can pull up a menu, or you can go to the location tab on the app, find, the box that you want at your location or that you're going to go to, and also see the menu there. So if you're sitting in a golf cart or waiting on your friend, you can go ahead and figure that out. Since it is pre-buy, if you pick, 2 high noons or something and you definitely want to have them, you've already bought it. So the back office holds it for you because it's already yours. It's just waiting for you at hole 6, right?
Gotcha.
And so typically that can be, in some stadiums where where they run through things, it can be quite valuable because you don't want to go to the concession stand unless you know what they have and they have what you want. On a golf course, we haven't really run into that just because these machines hold, 500 drinks. And so once you're moving, they only have to refill this every, 3 or 4 days to a week. It doesn't have to be refilled every day because it can really, hold inventory at a pretty good level. So, but it is nice, especially for tournaments. It's particularly good. So if you think about Wells Fargo, so last year at Wells Fargo in Charlotte at that tournament, we had 10 dispensing stations across 3 locations. This year, we're going to have 10 locations with over 25 dispensing stations because the success was really good and it was driving incremental sales for them. But even then, if you have a location where there were 3 or 4 boxes, at tournaments you have multiple dispensing stations because of crowd rush, right? All coming when your favorite golfer thing. And so in order to deal with that, you have about 4 dispensing stations, but even then we would have, now it only takes 30 seconds to get a drink, but we don't want any waiting time. So what we've basically done here is if somebody is the second in line, well, go ahead and pre-order it because you know what box you're at, and then as soon as you're there, just pick it up and go. And it's really sped up that process, which is, for us, seconds matter because it only takes 30 seconds, but hey, get it to 25, let's do that, right?
Yeah. And you want the experience to be pleasant. You don't want people getting there and then frustrated because, whatever they've ordered or what have you is not available or they've got to wait an extended period of time, then you increase the frustration level. So that's great that it's a very fast process. I also noticed too, and I want you maybe just explain a little bit for those that aren't familiar, because obviously you're more familiar with, the dispensing stations and that. What does it mean when you say it's outdoor rated? And obviously it only uses sort of regular standard power and doesn't require Wi-Fi. So tell us about that process, how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say our 2 big tenets are being convenient and flexible, right, in terms of our controls. And so that goes for hardware as well. So the current dispensing stations we're using are indoor-outdoor rated, meaning you can put them in rain. They can be out in the elements. They have a very sturdy capability of being in those elements. The only thing they can't be in is standing water. I mean, you're plugging it into an outlet, so so you need a 1/4-inch clearance so that it's not sitting in a pool of water. But other than that, they're good to go. It does need standard power. So typically on golf courses where we've seen people place them is usually near a restroom. Anywhere you have lights, you have power. Sometimes there's other places you have power around the course, but that's an obvious. And they all work. I mean, the boxes or the stations, we call them kind of dumb dispensing stations. They're not dumb, but they're really not thinking for themselves. Everything is done through the app. What I mean is there's no Wi-Fi connection, no connection needed for the box itself. The phone does all of the thinking and tells the box through a Bluetooth connection to the box that it can go ahead and give you your beer, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. And because it's Bluetooth enabled, one of the other things that you have, and I'm just curious about this, is there a distance requirement? Like, for instance, if you've got one at the turn, does it matter where you are in the course? Is it still going to be able to connect to a box that's maybe, if you're on the let's say you're on the 10th hole and you want to get something when you're coming in that's on hole, let's say 13, is there a distance that can affect that connection or no?
No, the connection only happens when you're picking up or when you're dispensing. That's the only time you have to be in front of a dispensing station, and it won't let you if you're half a mile away, it won't let you just hit dispense and let it go. You have to be in front of the box in order for it to dispense. But for everything else, if you think inventory and making a selection, again, it's all done through the app-based platform, which can be done from anywhere. So, I mean, you could buy your drinks at home before you even come to the course if you want to. The only thing that is, position or geofenced and located is when you're actually dispensing, because it wants to know that the person that has been authenticated is right in front of the box. And it will only allow one person box at any given time via Bluetooth. It will only allow one at any given time. That's right.
Got it. So how then does it, if you're not actually technically connecting to the box until you're right there at the dispensing box, how does it then communicate to the app if you're what the you just mentioned it a few minutes ago, what the inventory is in the box? How does it, like when you're ordering off your app and let's say you're not actually connected to it yet because you're not there to dispense it, how does it send in real time? How is it communicating through the app in order to let it know that when you're going down there, hey, there's, we've only got 2 of that item left?
Yeah. So the actual inventory for every box is maintained and managed and basically on a cloud-based environment and a server. Okay. So if I have a box in Phoenix, you could view the inventory if you were the owner of that box from another state if you wanted to at any given time, from your phone, from a tablet, from a laptop, whatever. So as you buy something through the app, it shows you what the current inventory is or what menu is available, all those things. And then as you actually dispense, your phone sends a small message back to our server to say, hey, I just picked it up. And then it decrements it, right? It's gone now. So you know at any given time how much is in there. That's also another good feature for operators because you can also set up the system to send you a text or send your F&B manager a text or an email, if one of your slots gets down to whatever you choose, 5. There's only 5 Modelo's left on hole 6. You might want to cruise out there and fill those up later today, something like that. So you can see all of that at any point in time, basically. Got it.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if it's working through a cloud-based setup, which I assumed it was since it was an app, but I just wanted to sort of get clarification because I can guarantee you somebody listening to the broadcast is thinking, okay, well, how does it do that and how does it do this? Right. So you've answered that very well. All right, we're gonna dip and take a real quick break, and then we're going to come back and continue the conversation. So bear with us, and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to take a quick break and listen to a message from Golf Tips Magazine.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back. I'm here with my very special guest, Elsbeth Hurry. She is the co-founder and CEO of ZIGIT. We're talking about not only the mobile app, but also the dispensing stations that work with it as well. And we're talking about some of the ways that fans and also member guests at their favorite course can partake in refreshments through this technology. And Elsbeth, I want to ask you a little bit more about the member guest experiences, because this is something you found out, as you said, down at the PGA show that you mentioned a little bit ago, that there were a lot of private courses and things like that. This is obviously a big benefit for them. You talked about some of them. Have they asked you, in addition to obviously the liquid refreshments, is there other refreshments or other options like food products? Obviously you can't have heated, but is there other things like other snacks that could be incorporated into this as well?
Yeah, it is possible. We haven't gone there yet, but there is a whole host of vending technology that already exists out there that could be incorporated, and it could all tie into one interface, one system. That's not all that difficult. So we haven't gone there yet. It's really more of a question of what people want and when they want it, and then we could facilitate that.
And obviously, as time goes on, more and more things, between the owner-operators of the courses and obviously their members are going to come together and say, hey, we would love to have this, or can they do this, and that sort of thing. So obviously that's going to spur some of the future development with these dispensing machines and the technology as well. I think it's very, very interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
As you look at our technology, what is unique about our patents and our technology is the ability to determine the eligibility of somebody for a controlled item, whether that's age-controlled. Honestly, the technology has application across other verticals, and we can talk about that later too, but even things like pharmacy, pharmaceutical pickup from lockers and various other things, which we're really not focused on right now, but we could license the technology out for that. So that's kind of our sweet spot. That being said, we pride ourselves on being collaborative and flexible, and so we would probably be able to work and augment with other existing technologies that are out there to give them the overall experience they're looking for.
And obviously, for a couple of reasons, obviously golf is a great market to really start through. And as you mentioned, your husband, John, I believe, is an avid golfer. So what a great way to start in an area that he obviously enjoys playing, and it's certainly a great test market. I'm sure he's used it many times when he's out playing. So that's a great thing to have. Now, we touched on a little bit earlier about obviously getting more involved with organizations like the PGA Tour and having it at events and other enhanced fan experiences. So is this something that's in the works now? I mean, you mentioned a couple of the tournaments that you've been involved with and had some exposure to. Do you see this growing fairly rapidly in that area in the next maybe a couple of years?
Definitely. I mean, right now we're in discussions with large groups within the tour as well as the tour itself. And it's a question of really thinking through, a lot of these tours are managed by different groups. Some of the tours are managed directly by the PGA. And so I would say right now we are doing a few tour events and festivals and things this calendar year, 2024. But right now we're really trying to position and get things ready so that next year we can be at, a wide range of tours. So we would have a series of dispensing stations, ideally, what would fit into one trailer, basically, that could move from tournament to tournament. And that would be the most efficient way for us to do it. So how does
let's go back to the dispensing stations for a second. I think I heard you correctly, and by all means, obviously correct me if I'm not stating it the right way. Is the app only work with your dispensing stations, or can other dispensing stations that maybe they already have, can they be fit with a technology that would allow it to communicate with your app? So let's say a golf course already has some dispensing products out on their facility. They like the idea of what you're offering. Can they be, did a retrofit, I guess might be a way to put it. Can those machines then be updated to be able to allow your app to be able to use with them? Is that something, or are they required to change and get it?
It depends, but absolutely. I would say standard vending machine technology that's been out there, we can patch into almost any of those NDB boards. So yes, if somebody already has something, we can update it and add our controller that connects to their controller, basically, to take control of the machine. And in addition to that, sorry, my dog is trying to get out of the room.
That's all right.
I have 5, so I'm a crazy dog person too. But in addition to that, we might make small modifications, because the only real modification you would need to make if you already had a machine is probably to reface it. You want to take the money changer off. You want to take any buttons off, because you don't want any way for things to get confusing for the end user. Those are all very easy things to do.
Mm-hmm. So it is fun. And obviously, if you've got a really old piece of equipment that maybe isn't using a more updated technology, then obviously that'd be a different consideration. But obviously with some of the newer vending products, you'd be able to do that. So, and that's good. And the reason why I asked that is that's good because from an owner operator perspective, if they've already got, let's say they've just recently purchased, some vending dispensaries in the last couple of years, they don't want to have to turn around and now invest again. So
sure,
that's a great thing to have. Sorry, you were going to, I heard you talking, so you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. Even if it's older technology, I mean, what we might have to do for something like that is replace the controller on the machine itself. And all those things are possible. So there's quite a bit we can do with existing hardware, I guess is what I'm saying. At the same time, we don't see ourselves as a hardware company, but we will facilitate getting the right hardware for a golf course because we don't want them to have to think about anything. And we are working and we are in discussions with some third-party groups that have access to, like, Envision, the Cokes and the Pepsis of the world as it relates to beverages.
Right.
We're trying to, certainly before the end of the year, we intend to have a third-party partner that would be able to own a big portion of the hardware side of the business just because they have the infrastructure and capabilities and scale, honestly, to make that easier for the end users and the retailers down the road. Yeah,
you want to obviously be able to turn it around relatively quickly from when somebody says, hey, we want it in here. And that was going to be my next question. So if you've got a golf course, let's say, that wants to move forward, right now, obviously it's a little bit different because you're working on those partnerships. But typically, if let's say at my golf course, I wanted to have this put in and have this available to our patrons, typically what's the turnaround for you to be able to have this set up for us?
Yeah, it depends on availability of what we already have, but usually in case you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks. Again, we're trying to keep that so it's not 6 to 8 weeks, right, by trying to forecast. And typically, it takes a few weeks for them to figure out what they want to do and some of those things and the particulars. But then as it relates to actually placing something, that's another big advantage that we found at the tour. It is very easy. They're heavy machines, 600 pounds unloaded. But if you just have a pallet dolly, basically, or any way to move that around the course on pavement, it's really quite simple to set up. So you set it up, you place it, you make it relatively level, and then it takes about 10 minutes to fill the first time. And then for a tournament, when you're done, you just pick it up and you go while everybody else is still tearing down for days. So it's really quick really quick, really low maintenance.
Right. And it can enhance an already existing thing. As you mentioned, you might have, a little booth or something at the turn that serves, some hot dogs and other, fixtures that people are used to at the golf course. This can only enhance what they've already got. So they don't necessarily have to get rid of anything. They can actually use this to enhance what they already have. So it's a win-win for them. What about reporting for? Go ahead.
Really quick. What we found is that, especially in stadiums and golf courses and other things, people might go to the clubhouse and they want a sandwich, and so they'll grab a drink too. But then if they're at the driving range and they just want another drink after they've already had their sandwich, they can continue to get drinks. It makes it that much easier.
Right.
So we found they're quite good in places like driving ranges, around the course, top tracer areas. All of those places are quite beneficial. And in many courses, we're not really there to eliminate the beer cart. That's really not the plan. We're there to augment the beer. And so in a lot of places, beer service doesn't even start until 11. So some courses have been deciding to try out, Bloody Marys in the machines. Are those going to go?
Right.
And we haven't enough data to say that that's really a trend, but we have seen it. So there's a lot of things that you can try out. And because it's so easy to swap things around as it relates to the inventory and things, you can watch the trends, watch the analytics by area, move things from A to B or whatever you might need to do to kind of optimize how you're going to increase your sales. And in general, we've seen an uptick in incremental sales anywhere from 10 to 25%. So if you think about Florida, where the average golfer buys 4.8 beers, according to the latest study. It just adds another, half to a whole beer. So you're looking at per person, right? And it's not always just beers. People want water and Gatorade too. And so we strongly suggest to have a few of those things in the machine too for the people that are just really wanting something cold, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important to have a mixture like that. I mean, you don't want to just limit it to one, because then it sort of, because there are some people that maybe, want to play golf and really want to wait till the 19th hole to have a drink. And I'm obviously referring to alcoholic. Maybe they just want a water or Gatorade or something along that line. So yeah, you want to make it available. And I think I know the answer to this too, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So obviously it sounds like there's a fairly robust reporting with this as well through the system. So obviously the owner operators can take a look and see what is popular, see the sale trends, see what items are moving, and actually also which machines are doing better than others. So if they want to reposition at some point, let's say certain machines are not performing very well in their location, they can say, well, let's try it over here and see if we get better results. So there gives them a lot of flexibility. So I'm assuming there's a good reporting for that, right?
There is. And then the other thing, we have real-time reporting, and you can also have automated reports sent to whoever you want in different configurations. But the other thing that is truly unique, because of how we enroll people, we do not share private information. That's just something we don't do, because we're very serious about privacy and privacy compliance. Sure. But we will share and have no problem sharing anonymized demographic data. So what I mean by that is a retailer finally knows who's doing the buying. What sort of demographic are they? Is it the 21, 30-year-olds that are buying? Is it men? Is it women? Is it who's drinking the White Claws? What does that look like? And what that means is if you have specific types of events, tournaments, things like that, you can stack your machines specific to what that demographic might like if you know who's coming. It does allow you to be a little bit selective in how you're going to manage the overall F&B to maximize your potential incremental profit.
Well, and that's a great feature, really, if you're hosting a lot of tournaments, and I'm talking about maybe corporate events or, maybe a women's league or something that wants to play, and they have, an overwhelming, favorite refreshments that they like to have. I mean, they may not want to be, getting a beer or something, but there may be other refreshments that they're more akin to. So knowing that data, again, you can stack everything up for that event, and then once that event's done, then you can obviously replenish it with other things as you move forward. But no, I think that's great. And I also see too that you're either are or looking at, certainly down the road, of getting into organizations like the NBA, NHL, and other sporting events as well. So is that something that is down the road, or are you already entertaining that now?
Yeah, well, we actually started with NBA and NHL, so hockey and basketball in Dallas at the American Airlines Center. And we learned quite a bit. It's a great environment for it. What we found was it is far more it drives more value in hockey games than it does in basketball games. And the reason for that is that in games, the fans come flooding out when the puck is not on the ice, and they have to get back in or they get blocked from going back in. So you have big shifts in queues and lines. They kind of come in waves, and our technology is perfect for that. So, for instance, at American Airlines Center, we have had an 80% return rate. So once somebody uses it once, they almost always come back. And so it's interesting, the things you learn. People love that it's ice cold. They love that they don't have to tip. They love that they can buy one at a time so that they don't have to hold multiple beers, allow them to get cold or warm, excuse me. So some of the things that we found people really loved were interesting, surprising in some respects and not in others. So yes, we are in arenas, but the main reason that we focus in golf, one, anything at this stage that can get us outside on a beautiful course just seems fun.
Sure.
So it makes going to work pretty easy, I got to say. So golf is great in that respect. And also, if you look at golf, a lot of golf groups, yes, there's some seasonality, but in the Sun Belt, I mean, golf can be 365 here in Arizona and Florida.
Right.
And if you arena, you could have 20 football games and a few concerts, right? So it's not an efficient use of our time and resources compared to a place that is underserved like golf, where we can have an immediate impact with just a handful of boxes in a given course. So again, I think that's one of the primary reasons that drove us to golf, and the fact that we've all had the experience. I mean, the beer carts are wonderful, but if you really are thirsty and you want something then, it would be nice to have that extra option.
Yeah, exactly. And again, to emphasize the point, I mean, it's great in these other sports and that, but again, you're limited to, the number of arenas and things like that, where, you come to a place like Florida or Myrtle Beach or Arizona, where you have literally hundreds and hundreds of golf courses. So that's a huge, huge market. Yeah, you're not limited to, indoor facilities and things like that. And now with the onslaught of, again, technology, places like Topgolf and other indoor golfing centers that are popping up all over the place for even those areas out of the Sun Belt, you've got even a great market potential there as well, because, who wouldn't like to have something like that handy, right, when you're getting into a digital bay?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of these golf courses in northern states, Michigan and other places, they're trying to get more year-round by putting in simulator lounges and other things. Right. Because they in their season, and the people want to do things in the winter. They just don't want to do it outside necessarily. And I think what's unique about our tech, in an arena, there are other things that we compete against. Amazon has a Just Walk Out store, and it's pretty cool, right? But it's millions of dollars of capital. It's a lot of investment. That would never make sense on a golf course. You're never going to spend millions of dollars on a golf course, have something that complicated, and you don't have the infrastructure. So we really, are wanting to go after the niche where our flexibility and convenience of hardware and some of those things can really, provide a benefit. And we see golf being one of those key areas for us, especially right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing such great growth in our sports. Obviously, you have, a group of segment of golfers who have been around for a while and continue to play because they enjoy it. But you're seeing essentially an onslaught of new and upcoming golfers, the future generations, who are very much more tech savvy. And this is what they want. As in the very beginning, we talked about, that immediate gratification. They don't want to stand in long lines. And in fact, I was at Pinehurst last year, and there were many groups of young golfers there, and I can assure you they have little patience. They want to get their drinks now, and they want to get out there and play and enjoy themselves. So something like this that allows them to do that and get out and have fun, because that's really what the game is supposed to be about, is let's have fun. And nobody wants to be spending their time or potentially lose their spot, out on the golf course because they've got to wait in line, and now a group's coming up behind them, so they want to just be able to grab and go. So, no, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I think that, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to add that, the thing that we've noticed, especially in golf, is that the largest segment and one of the fastest growing segments is the 18 to 34, which is perfect and that's both on course and, like you said, the top golf sort of realm. But that is a perfect demographic for us. And as you well know, I mean, there's a record number of new players in 2023, and we see that trend continuing because golf just seems to be moving more to it's finally come mainstream. It's what people want to spend their time doing in a lifestyle sport. So, we think golf is great for so many reasons.
Well, and during that, and I've said this many times on the show, we obviously got through this pandemic, and it really opened up a whole new market for golf, because golf was really one of those few activities that people could do during the pandemic. It was, like to get out and just get away from, being cooped up inside. and it really
Right.
introduced the sport in a game to people that typically might not have been introduced to that. And some of it was through a forced effort of just, hey, I got to get out of the house. I can't stand it anymore. And then there was also a resurgence of people that hadn't played for a while that got back into the game. So you're right. And that younger demographic that's coming in is bringing forth a lot of great ideas. And one of the things they like is to have that interaction through social media, through mobile apps, through those types of things. So, yeah, you walked into a perfect timing, the perfect storm, if you will, for the golf industry, because that's exactly where it's going. And I know you probably saw a lot of that when you were down at the PGA show and had a chance to walk around and just seeing the technology that's coming through. So you guys hit it right on the nail on the head, as they say. So how can people find out if they want to learn more about that? Is there a website they can go to learn more? And if they want to download the app and actually to be able to enjoy this setup? Yeah,
the website is www.zigit.app, so .app, and there's information there, and you can also reach out and contact us through that as well. And as far as downloading the app, you can download it at home for free. It doesn't take much to download it, and we are, adding features to it every day. But typically the way it's used today in most situations is if you're at a course that has ZIGIT-enabled technology, then they usually let you know at the pro shop. You make sure that you're signed up, and then you're good to go for the rest of the day.
Is there a way through either the website or through the app? Is there a way of finding out participating courses? Does it have that at this point, or is that something that you're maybe working on for down the road so that when I launch that app, if I'm in it?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're adding, so we will probably have that within the next month on the website and through the app, so that you'll be able to go to a location tab instead of having to scan a box. So that's something we're adding currently. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Elsbeth, thank you very much for joining me this evening. A lot of great information there. And again, if the folks want to go to zigit.app, and that's ZIGIT.app, they can get more information there and learn about some of the great things that you guys are doing with that. And it sounds like you've got a lot of things coming down the road as well to just make it an all-around better experience for everybody. And you've got the perfect guinea pig, John, there to test out all this new stuff up in the golf course. So, you've got the perfect world there. But thank you very much for coming on tonight, and glad that we were able to connect and keep us posted here on the show with what's happening as things move progressively. I want to hear more about that, and maybe have you and John come back on at a future show and talk about when you have some more exciting news to share with the audience.
Yeah, I would love that. I appreciate your time, and we're really excited to be in golf, and we're really excited that you invited us to join your podcast here tonight.
Well, you're welcome anytime, and thank you, and I apologize for a little bit of the inconvenience in the beginning dialing in, but I think we got that worked out. But,
I think that has anything to do with you. There's been a glitch.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either, but I always like to apologize anyways. But Elsbeth, thank you very much to both you and to John for coming up with a really great business that's certainly going to, as a winner. And hopefully if you make it down next season to the PGA show, I'll have an opportunity to stop by and say hello. But thank you very much, and you're always welcome to come back.
All right. Thank you so much, Ted.
All right. You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right. That was tonight's very special guest, Elsbeth Hurry. She is the co-founder and CEO of ZIGIT mobile app, which is a SaaS platform, as we mentioned in the beginning, dispensing stations that currently is available at a number of different golf courses and other areas as well at NBA centers and NHL sporting events locations. So keep an eye out for that. And again, if you want to get more information, go to ZIGIT.app. That's www.zigit.app, and it's ZIGIT.app. Again, thanks to tonight's special guest, and I will see you next week here on Golf Talk Live. Don't forget, again, March 7th will be the reintroduction of the Coach's Corner panel. It'll be the first of the season. I'm excited to have the gang back on that segment. We'll be going to the full 2-hour broadcast beginning on March the 7th, starting off, as I said, with Coach's Corner. And then again, March 14th, the second and the fourth week of each month, we will be inserting a special 20-minute travel segment, and I'll be joined by my good friend Robert Kaufman, the senior travel editor for Golf Tips magazine, will be joining me, and some favorite guests in the travel industry. So I hope you'll join us for that. On that note, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. God bless, and I will see you next Thursday right here on Golf Talk Live. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. Ted would like to thank this evening's special guest for joining him on the show. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. You can also listen to Golf Talk Live on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. Be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, send an email to Ted at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.